Hello, everyone. I'm Natalia Bilbao, and here's what's happening in LA this week. Los Angeles Council President Nury Martinez spearheaded the Denim Day 2021 event from City Hall recently. She was joined by Mayor Eric Garcetti and fellow City Council members in promoting this National Day of Action and Awareness with the goal of ending sexual violence. Take a look.
Welcome, everyone, to the 22nd year of the Denim Day movement, which was started right here in 1999 in the City of Angels by our organization, Peace Over Violence, the first sexual and domestic violence agency in the country.
Today we wear denim in support of the movement launched by Peace Over Violence in response to an unjust court ruling in 1998. Italian Supreme Court justices overturned a rape conviction, ruling that since the victim was wearing tight jeans, she must have helped the man who raped her remove them, thereby providing consent.
A recent study conducted by the Downtown Women's Center shows that more than 36% of women experiencing homelessness experienced domestic violence or interpersonal violence within the past year. This crisis demands action, and action now.
It's incredibly important that we come together and talk about how sexual violence is unacceptable and what we can be doing together as a society to prevent it from happening.
This year, we've put forward also a justice budget to say we're not going to return to a broken status quo. We're going to build on progress and build justice. In such, we put an additional $1 million proposed to the council now for their consideration for our SART and DART teams to better serve the victims of sexual assault and domestic abuse.
I am a survivor. I am happy to be speaking to you all on Denim Day, and I am wearing tight jeans.
It takes the community's partnership to help us lead in the right direction. And I'm so grateful that we have allies in POV and in so many of the survivors that are just like Tiffany.
It's simple. There is no place for domestic violence, for sexual assault, or for harassment in Los Angeles.
As Los Angeles slowly begins to reopen its small businesses, the city is also reopening its public spaces. The Sun Valley Branch Library invited Channel 35 over to catch a look at how libraries have prepared for reopening its doors.
Today we're happy to welcome our patrons back into the library for the first time in over a year and a half.
The services that we are offering to the public starting today are computers and browsing, book browsing, and Holtz pickup.
50-year library visitor, so I'm happy to be here on our first day back.
I think our library department, in conjunction with the city departments, follow the science of the CDC guidelines and also the county health department. And together since the beginning of March or April, we've been working closely together to see how we can reopen safely. As you can see in our lobby, we have a self-help check. They can go ahead and ask themselves several questions if they're prepared to come into the building, such as do they have a fever or temperature, doing these self-help checks before you enter the building, if they're ready to be wearing a mask. And once they say yes to the questions on the frames outside, they're welcome to come on in. And if they don't have a mask, we can kindly provide them one.
That's what it takes for the library to open. It's very well worth it.
If they still don't feel comfortable coming in with a mask on, we do have libraries that are offering curbside service.
They can call our local library or visit us online. They can go to lapl.org to find out all the information on which branches are providing what services, service hours, and what kind of processes they can do at those branches.
Come on in. We are excited and we want everybody to come back.
It's such a vital source to the community. I encourage everyone to come back to the library. It's a freedom and a right that we have to learn. I'm a teacher, so I really push that.
Many people are familiar with the idea of gun buyback programs. It is an incentive that dates all the way back to 1974. But did you know that the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration, has a similar program that started back in 2010? Well, that DEA-run program is still around today. Channel 35 was there to report on the agency's recent Drug Take-Back Day.
This is our 20th National Prescription Drug Take Back Day, and this is an opportunity for the public to get rid of its unwanted, unused, expired prescription drugs in a safe and anonymous manner. This is a way that we can keep these prescription drugs from being flushed down the toilet, contaminating our water system. Right now, we're just trying to keep that from happening.
Ahorita hay una epidemia de esos tipos de uso de drogas, el mal uso de las drogas de dolor, porque muchas personas en nuestra comunidad son adictos de esos tipos de medicinas, entonces son desesperados y buscan por donde quiera para conseguir esas drogas.
It has a great effect on the community because it lowers the number of overdose deaths. Oxycodone, hydrocodone, Xanax, some controlled, some not controlled. We're taking them all. They'll come here, drop it off. We will incinerate all of these pills, all those boxes of pills behind me. This is completely anonymous. We don't ask questions, and we'll give them a kind of a parting gift, just saying thanks.
There once was a time when Councilmember Marquise Harris Dawson and Congresswoman Karen Bass worked together to close problematic hotels in their district. Now, thanks to Project HomeKey, hotels like the EC Motel have been transformed into supportive housing centers. Here's that story.
It's good to be here on a Friday afternoon at the infamous or famous now EC Motel that is being transformed from a site that's been a long-time nuisance to the neighborhood, transforming that site into being a part of the solution for the biggest problem we face here in the city of Los Angeles and in our community, that is homelessness. Project HomeKey is a process whereby motels, some apartment buildings can be acquired by community organizations, and they can open up rooms for people relatively quickly as compared to other housing options. This site was a nuisance to this community, and Karen Bass, before she was in Congress, organized in this neighborhood to get this hotel shut down. And so to see it turn around to be an asset to the neighborhood is, just has us all over the moon. At this site, there are a lot of things we're going to have. There are going to be services, there's going to be places for people to wash their clothes, there's going to be 24-hour security, there'll be case management here, and a host of other services.
We are moving people that our outreach teams are engaging off the street, indoors, providing, wrapping our arms around them, providing support, and eventually they'll move on to permanent housing. The other thing this site eventually will become is, after about 2 years of interim housing, we're going to start a conversion. So it actually will eventually be long-term permanent supportive housing.
It feels incredible that this was finally done, but it shows what happens when you have a strong leader. And considering that Marquise and I were working so many years ago to not just shut this down, but there's many motels in this part of town that need to be converted into housing. And so how do we move people from homelessness into housing and address community problems at the same time, like blight and other magnets that attract crime? So different than incarcerating everybody, looking to address the root causes of the problem, this is a perfect example.
The issue of housing for the unsheltered community in California continues to be a pressing one. And with an estimated 24% of the nation's homeless living here in California, Councilmember Kevin DeLeon is calling on state-level officials and the governor to take bold action.
Right now, we have a generation growing up believing that people living in tents and in our streets is in fact quite normal. We can't afford to normalize homelessness. We must act with a sense of urgency to meet this humanitarian crisis with unprecedented investment. This is why I have asked past leaders of our California State Senate and our California State Assembly to join me in signing a letter calling on my colleagues in the California State Legislature and the governor to commit over $20 billion over the next 5 years to help for homeless housing development throughout California, but especially in Los Angeles, and especially right here in Skid Row.
It's time. It's time to make that bold, large investment and get our unhoused community into dignified housing space. And we also want to make sure that we have that sense of emergency, that urgency that says the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 job today is to make sure that folks have a house to live in.
I agree with the housing first model. Once I became permanently housed 4 years ago, my quality of life improved drastically. So the woman that you see before you today is not the same woman you would have seen 4, 5, 6 years ago.
We need to focus primarily on getting people into permanent housing as a solution and not this revolving door back out into homelessness through a shelter system. We're not actually solving the problem. We're pouring money into a system that doesn't work.
The system has broken and failed families in Los Angeles, and we need our state and federal government to step up and do their part to deliver the resources so that post-pandemic we can help uplift families and make sure that we end the cycle of poverty and homelessness in Los Angeles.
Team Cedillo celebrates El Día del Niño. Weingard YMCA hosts a vaccine event in South LA, and the LA Controllers unveils this year's free tax prep map. These stories up next on City Beat.
Team Cedillo celebrated El Día del Niño this weekend with music, clowns, and a back-to-school supplies giveaway.
It's a day that celebrates our children in Mexico, and so many of those celebrations we also adopt here because of our Mexican heritage and communities. But it's really important to lift our children up, you know, make them feel so special as they are. Our children are special to us.
The event was held at the Los Angeles River Center and Gardens and made possible by participation from organizations such as Alma Family Services, Athletes in the Making, Soledad Enrichment Action, and LA Barber College. The Weingard YMCA hosted a vaccine event in South LA this weekend. The event was held in conjunction with Shared Harvest and MyCOVID-MD.
We've hit a really good milestone as a country. Over 30% of the country has been vaccinated, but we still see a large percentage of marginalized, disenfranchised communities still not getting access to vaccines, and more importantly, not getting access to doctors and providers to ask their questions.
Those who chose to be vaccinated at the event were rewarded with a free lotto ticket and a pre-Cinco de Mayo barbecue.
We're treating this as a family affair. Everyone wants to be vaccinated to get closer to their families. Shared Harvest is all about just bringing families and communities together.
LA Controller Ron Galperin has introduced a new interactive map of free tax preparation service providers throughout the Los Angeles area. This free service is designed to help low to moderate income Angelenos who seek assistance for meeting the May 17th filing deadline. The new interactive map lists 55 tax prep assistance locations that include local community-based organizations and resource centers. To check out services in your area or to see if you qualify for this free service, visit lacontroller.org/taxprepla.
There will always be a myriad of services provided by the City of Los Angeles that residents just don't seem to be aware of. Fortunately, our own Maria Hall-Brown sat down with the director of 311, Donna Arruchia, to get the scoop on all the city services that are available right at your fingertips.
Imagine being able to access all the services and all the information for the City of LA in the palm of your hand. We don't have to imagine because it actually exists. My LA 311. And here to tell us all about it, I'm delighted to be joined by the director, Donna Arruchia. What is My LA 311?
Well, My LA 311 is actually a group of services. It includes the 311 call center, which you can reach by dialing a 3-digit number, 311, just like you call the police department by dialing 911. So it's easy and simple to remember. And it also includes the My LA 311 mobile app, which is available for free on the various app stores. And the idea of the app is to allow people, when they're out in public spaces and they see a problem like a pothole or a cracked sidewalk or a street light that's not working, it'll go straight to a crew and somebody will come out and take care of it.
It's an enormous scope of what is available, but let's go ahead and talk about what are the ones that are the most common.
The most common services for 311 is service request intake of things like dumping, potholes, reporting graffiti. Bulky item pickup appointments is a very popular service for sanitation customers. Reporting homeless encampments, things like that. Park maintenance, animal services, and a variety of other services are available through the app or by calling 311.
I really appreciate all of this information, Donna, and I really enjoyed our chat.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to share about 311. I think it's a great community service, and everybody should use it.
I agree.
The renovation of the 6th Street Viaduct at the 101 freeway continues. And while you may think there's nothing exciting about pouring concrete, just listen as City Engineer Gary Lee Moore regales his story of progress and innovation.
So we're out here today to witness the pouring of another arch. And this is the third of 10 arches, but what's special about it is this one's over the 101 freeway, which caused us to shut down the freeway for safety reasons. When you put 48 truckloads of concrete into this pair of arches, we want to make sure that there were no possibilities of anything falling on the freeway. It's quite an exciting moment for all of us. The pour is going very, very well, and I really want to thank the women and men who are out there working on this project. In March of 2021, when we poured the first arch, that pair of arches were 30 feet in height. And this arch is 40 feet in height. Caltrans is going to come in and do roadway repairs on the 101. They can do their work, and we got our work done first since it's so critical to the completion of the bridge. You get to walk across this bridge on new, wider sidewalks. You get to bike across this bridge on new 10-foot wide bike lanes. And of course, you'll be able to drive across it. All these arches are going to have LED lighting, and so they'll be able to change colors. We're just excited for summer of 2022 to come, and we'll be able to walk, bike, and drive across this new bridge.
Known as the birthplace of Los Angeles, Olvera Street is a marketplace established to celebrate the city's Mexican heritage. And it's back open for business. Michelle Garcia-Ortiz from El Pueblo talked to Channel 35 about the importance of visiting this historical downtown street.
This is your Pueblo, and it can't survive without you. We welcome visitors from all over the world, and especially locals.
I've been coming here since I was a little girl, been shopping, buying the purses and the clothing from here, and I don't know, I feel comfortable here. This is like home.
Welcome everybody to Olvera Street. We're open, we're ready for you guys to come back. We're following the protocols of the health department. Everything is safe and clean. Estamos siguiendo los protocolos de salubridad al 100%. Nuestras mesas están retiradas a 8 pies de distancia. Tenemos desinfectante. En cuanto se levante una persona de la mesa, desinfectamos las mesas.
Ahora que estoy afuera, estamos felices que estamos bien de salud y estoy muy feliz de venir y más que nada ayudar a la gente de nosotros a seguir con sus negocios y que no fallen.
Very safe. Everybody's covered up. Everybody is respecting to keep distance. You know, everybody, there's hand sanitizer, you know.
Coming back to the community.
Just coming back to the community, you know, helping out all these little mom and pop shops is a wonderful thing, because I know they have lost a lot of money during this pandemic, and just helping them, even just buying a little bowl or buying a little shoe, I know I'm helping their business out so they could stay here, and so when she's older, she could come and shop at the same place that she shopped when she was little.
Olvera Street and El Pueblo are located right across from the world-famous Union Station. You can get here by bike, bus, car, or train. For more information, find us on social media at El Pueblo LA or visit our website, elpueblo.lacity.org.
Marquise Harris-Dawson was on hand for the unveiling of a new community park in South LA. The park's namesake was lost in a violent tragedy, but her memory has unified her community in the spirit of activism and hope.
Today, City Councilman Marquise Harris-Dawson is going to unveil the Latashas Park playground sign. This playground is now named in the memory of a child who was viciously murdered.
This was Latashas Community Park, where she participated in our classes and our programs. And as I learned more about Latasha, I was inspired by her heroism, her wisdom that she had at such a young age.
Take a moment and look around you and look at the multiculturalism that's here today. So while we lost Latasha Harlins to a murder, her name still continues to gather people and unite us in a very unique way.
3, 2, 1.
It's really a great situation to be here, you know, just it's nice. And I definitely miss my granddaughter.
I just want to say that this is for her. We recognize you, you know, we love you. And if it wasn't for you, you know, we wouldn't have the motivation to keep fighting the way that we do.
Latasha was killed 30 years ago. Unfortunately, her life was taken way, way too soon because I believe she had a future in spite of. But we are here. We're here to make a difference.
I think what we need to do next is to continue to talk to each other. And that means sometimes we're yelling at each other, sometimes we're screaming at each other, sometimes it's just a whisper. But the point is to stay in communication and to have at a base of all our interactions the value for human life.
In our feature this week, we continue to explore the issue of the rise in racially motivated violence agitated by the toxic politics of the COVID-19 pandemic. I spoke with Paul S. Chan, chairman of the board of directors for AJLA, about the disturbing trend of hate crimes against Asian Americans. With the current pandemic, there has been a rise in hate crimes against Asian Americans, which has highlighted the importance of the efforts organizations like Asian Americans Advancing Justice Los Angeles are doing to create a more equitable and harmonious society. With us today, we have Paul S. Chan, who is the chair of the board of directors of Asian Americans Advancing Justice Los Angeles. Thank you so much for being here, Paul.
Hi, Natalia. Thank you for having me.
So how has the global pandemic impacted the efforts of the organization?
There has been a significant rise in anti-Asian discrimination, anti-Asian harassment. You know, the reasons for that are many. You know, the political rhetoric of the last administration, you know, referring to the Kung flu, referring to the China virus, certainly created an environment where this sort of conduct, you know, is more prevalent. But I think, you know, just sort of the stresses brought on by the pandemic itself, you know, has caused, unfortunately, you know, some folks in the community to think of people from China or Chinese Americans in particular as you know, having the virus or somehow being responsible for the virus. So one of the top priorities of our organization now is dealing with this rise in anti-Asian discrimination.
Literally a week ago, I was in the subway with a friend of mine, and I experienced something that was just so shocking that I was not prepared for.
Yeah.
This Asian woman was in the same train as myself. We boarded it at the same time. And then these two men started, saying some really nasty words and intimidating this poor woman. And it was just horrible to experience that as a human being, and also to see that there was no one else doing nothing. And I remember looking at this woman and seeing her shaking and crying in fear. And my friend and I were like, we cannot, it's like a human responsibility that we have to act. And obviously I have no idea how those two men are going to react towards me, but at that moment it's like there's a woman in distress that did nothing to generate this behavior. So I guess I'm so happy to hear that you're doing something to educate people like myself who experience this.
It's shocking. And,
it is. It's just
it happens when you least expect it. But there are things you can do, as you did, to try and assist the victim, get them out of harm's way, document the conduct, report it after the fact so that folks know what happened.
So in terms of looking at the future, where do you hope things will be at in, say, 5 years?
Well, obviously we hope we won't need as much of this focus on anti-Asian discrimination, but I think we will continue to have that as one of the core programs. The hope is that we continue to get the word out, that we are here as a resource. One of the challenges is not so much having the capacity to provide services, but getting the word out, educating the community that we are here and available to assist the Asian American community.
So I guess to wrap it up, how can allies and members of the AAPI community connect?
Sure. I would encourage folks to go to our website, advancingjustice-la.org, which has tremendous information about what we do and how you can get involved.
Thank you so much for being here with us today, Paul.
Thank you for having me.
The LA Made series has a conversation with author Yang-Shi Chu. Explore racism as a public health issue with LACMA or engage with Art Rise. All this and more up next in Things to Do.
The Los Angeles Public Library invites you to enjoy a new installment of their ongoing artist series, LA Made. In recognition of Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, LAPL brings you a conversation with New York Times best-selling author Yang-Shi Chu. Yang-Shi is the author of The Night Tiger and The Ghost Bride, which is now a Netflix original drama. This episode of LA Made will be streamed on the library's YouTube channel and Facebook page. So be sure to check out a conversation with author Yang-Shi Chu, happening Friday, May 14th at 4 p.m. The Los Angeles County Museum of Art invites you to check out a new virtual panel series entitled Racism is a Public Health Issue. Conceived in conjunction with organizations such as GYOPO and Stop Discrimination, LACMA presents an educational lecture series that aims to address prejudices against the Asian American community both prior and during the COVID-19 crisis. Be sure to check out Racism is a Public Health Issue Friday, May 14th on the LACMA YouTube channel. You are invited to check out the public art exhibition Art Rise, a series of outdoor art installations and special projects created in collaboration with museums, cultural institutions, and artists. Reaching across 5 different neighborhoods, the art installations are designed to be COVID safe with socially distant viewing and are easily accessible by foot or vehicle. To learn more about where to find Art Rise installations, visit whywerise.la/artrise. And that's a look at some virtual things to do.
And that's it for this edition. I am Natalia Bilbao, and from all of us here at LA This Week, thank you so much for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacitywiew.org, and we're also on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. See you next time for more LA This Week.